owning up to mistakes. Yeah, definitely. Don't care about that. And there's so many times I've made a mistake, opened up to all of them, or been found out.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Dietitian Life, where we tell you about our weeks. This week has been a pretty interesting one. Busy thus far. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of interviews, because we've got like 7 jobs out. So if you haven't already applied, apply. They're all on Seek, also on DAA website. If you haven't seen our socials, it's all over that for Fuel Your Life and Sunshine Coast Dietetics. So check it.
A big thank you to everybody that emailed me personally looking for work experience. I was overwhelmed, to be honest.
Emailed you personally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I hit everybody up on Insta last week seeking anybody that wanted to do any work experience for us. And yeah, ridiculous. I reckon I got about 10, maybe more than that. So that was pretty decent. And yeah, good chats, and they were all super keen. So yeah, super keen to work for us as well too, but you know, just need to graduate. But yeah, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Good vibes.
As you can see, we are seated in front of...
And you can't see in front of us, but there is more yellow.
Yeah, I'm going to show them. So basically, where we talked about last week how we wanted to do vision, mission, values. So we asked the team to give us feedback and to give us some words that we could, utilize, or stuff that they felt that we focused on and where they would like us to focus. So a lot of stuff you see on the wall, but then we grouped a lot of things based on the amount of people that did it. So like this one, for example, is just all around support and capacity building. So obviously a lot of people, so like build up people and dietitians, supportive environment for dietitians and students, supportive, focus on staff goal achievement, individuals over organisation. Friendly staff.
Focus of well-being of staff.
Did you want to get involved? Is that what you were doing? You're like, oh, let me read one.
Yeah, I did.
Focus on staff support, capacity building.
Individuals
support.
first, organisation.
Yeah, second.
Builds. Yeah.
Modern business model, support and develop staff. So that was obviously a big pillar of what we were trying to do with our vision, mission, and values for the company.
These ones.
Got another big one.
Hard to kind of...
You're really good with this, so I'll let you do it.
So I've dropped a couple out, but you can obviously see empathy, center face, and then yeah, owning up to mistakes. Yeah, definitely. Don't care about that. And there's so many times I've made a mistake, opened up to all of them, or been found out. Open communication lines, openness, integrity, inclusiveness, compassion, caring, empowering clients, passion. They're all pretty cool.
Yeah, so pretty much the purpose of that was to ensure that all of our staff were included into our vision and what we were trying to create for the company. So that was...
Raising the profile of dietetics every day.
That came up a lot. Be a leader, highlight dietitians. You're going to show them my favourite.
Mm-hmm.
My team of misfits that I always tend to say. So...
Lovingly, of course.
Yeah, completely lovingly.
Honest and integrity, pretty much 2 massive pillars of our business. Able to be humble and accept mistakes. Wish I could have thrown that one out a number of times this week, but anyway.
Anyway, so yeah, pretty much the purpose of that was to get their involvement, so then we can collaborate together, Peter and I, the management team, around creating a value statement, vision statement, mission statement, to then be part of the brand. We've already done it. We've struggled a little bit because it just seems like a nothing activity to us.
It's like those brainstorming activities at uni, which really probably do have value, but in the long run you might see it, but at the time you're like, oh God.
No, I think it's...
Butcher paper?
No, I think it's just because we're already doing it. It's just around what's the point in putting it into words when you should be able to feel it the moment you step into the company, or the moment you have impact or I guess involvement with the company as a client or as a stakeholder or as a dietitian, staff member.
Yeah,
you
but
hitting
that's
us up
all
on
well and good, but
Dietitian
nobody
Life.
will know that ultimately. So the goal of this is, the purpose is
Well,
to
they need to
brand,
reach out, don't they?
brand, and
They need to
market,
reach out
market,
to
market.
us. They need to ask the questions.
So it needs to be things that are infiltrated through all of our social media, marketing material, any
We're
sort of
already doing
content
it.
that we're putting out. So it's
We're
just a
already
matter
doing
of refining it, right?
No.
That's what she was saying.
No, it's not refining.
Well,
It's defining.
Defining, redefining.
No, it's just defining.
It's also
Jeez.
hard to put words around things
Because
like
Peter's
this
really
as well.
good with words.
Yeah, so I've
great
added
with them.
0 value, maybe 1 word, which fine, I'm cool with that. And as long as I get 1 little stamp in that VMV,
You
I'm
got
happy.
you got you got 1 word in the last mission statement too. It's probably the most important one, but you did. So that's good. She got listen in the last one. So I had solve problems and improving lives, and then she was like, no, like, gotta listen first. So what about to listen, solve problems? So nailed it. What, you're like, nah, doesn't mean anything to me.
Pretty much.
What? A lot of people like that. Anyway, what else are we doing? So interviews galore.
What was that?
Oh, well, it was me just going, all right, what tangent I'm going to go on right now. So I was motivated to do like an audio post on how to get through a private practice interview. That's how much I wanted to help the people that we were interviewing post. So for anyone in the future, if you're going to do an interview with private practice, then look out for that coming. But Peter had some interesting experiences with interviews this week because she's been kind of taking the most of the interviews now.
For the most part. And
until she burns out and then I have to take over, but
I wouldn't even say it's burnout. I can talk every day. I would say for the most part it's frustrating to a point. But the unusual thing for me this time around was the amount of rebuttal without knowledge or experience. And I think, cool, yeah, sweet, I'm happy to take a battle any day. But there would be absolutely no way as a new graduate that I would be sitting there arguing, and I emphasize arguing, with my interviewer, regarding particular nutrition questions or concepts and things like that. So that to me was a complete slap in the face and really just, to be honest, like it seriously just upset me. Ultimately, we want to hire great people, and there certainly is going to be, and have been, some really interesting, cool people. And I like to chat, I like to help. But it's the same thing that we have obviously and always talked about, is the ability to take on feedback and give it a crack before you rebut it. I think it's also just that respect for the process. I think particularly with us, we try to make interviews relatively casual. We also try to make them an opportunity to learn, grow, and give feedback. So it's not that you go away, and I've asked a lot of the dietitians that I interviewed, what sort of feedback have you got? Why haven't you got a job? How many jobs have you applied for? Is this your first one? And a lot of the time they have told me, or you guys have told me, that you've not received any feedback. So they have no perspective.
But you don't have a job.
Yeah, so potentially wardrobe malfunction. Potentially the reasons for that are the reasons for why I was giving you feedback specific to the issues or the problems or the questions that we sort of came across. So yeah, Did you just feel
disrespected?
100%. And to be honest, like my blood was boiling after a number of those interviews, and also significant disappointment for some of the things that people do and say. There were key ones around, like, I can't help a person lose weight, he needs bariatric surgery. So like, do we advocate for nutrition or dietetics, or just we put everybody into surgery options? Like, that's it. Other things around strategies to help people. A lot of what we are encouraged to do is around getting the client involved in the process of their own health. And so that is about goal setting and asking the client and getting them involved. And whilst to a point that's really, really important, for some people, they don't want that. They just want to be told. And a lot of the time, the answers that we do get through interviews are around, I provide client-centered care and we're patient-focused and we're evidence-based and the alike, but the answers were very standard. There was no patient-centered care and it was completely inflexible. And that for a point is fine, but then the inflexibility coming back as a rebuttal and an argument because you believe you are right, even though you have no experience and you've told me 10 times that you're inexperienced and that's why you can't answer the question, but then you're fighting with someone with more experience. It just blows my mind. Because we're totally into being able to provide people with feedback and trying to grow dietitians, and I can guarantee that if you people listen and you take on some advice and you implement it, the growth is exponential and we pride ourselves on that. So anyone that's interviewed for positions, if you want feedback, please ask me for it. Some advice, just take it. Kind of go, yeah, sweet. Yeah, no worries. I kind of see where you're coming. And for the most part, generally our interviews have been a bit like that. So people kind of go, oh yeah, no, you're right. But for whatever reason, it has become very much a fighting game. And Tyson had similar instances where people would fight you for the right answer or completely disagree with you and say, no, you're wrong, or get very riled up, which is just a completely weird situation. You're like, are we really arguing right now? Is this not an interview? Are we too casual? Why are we arguing? So yeah, just very unusual. It left me kind of really bewildered and quite upset, to be honest.
I guess to their defense, they are spoon-fed a lot of stuff and we tend to think of things in a different way. But it's just, I think what frustrates us is that people make a comment on something or develop a goal or strategy that they believe is something, but then if you take it literally for what they exactly said, it doesn't actually meet the goal, doesn't meet the objective of the client, doesn't, it's just like...
Yeah, it's like, here's your textbook, read it and give me a textbook answer.
Yeah, and anyone who uses Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, or it's just like, I know, I get it, unis just teach that because none of them have worked in private practice, and any ones that did probably did it 20 years ago or were shit, and that's why they're in a uni now. But sorry people that are in unis, but it's just one of those things where it's just like we get it over and over and over and over and over, and it's very rare for us to find a dietitian that actually off the bat will do it.
I think it's unique thought and respect for the situation.
I think it's more like they take learning and then they figure out how to apply it rather than just regurgitating their learning. It's just like, now that I'm faced with this client that's a real person that has a real issue, that has a real diet, I don't know how to apply that rather than just saying, I would do client-centered care in accordance with the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating versus I would swap that to this, or I would do this because that client's goal is weight loss. Or so I think it's just the lack of application of that. And you can say that you don't have experience and all of that, but every single person we interview usually is a new grad, and the experienced ones often haven't had a lot of support. So,
and with that, those that haven't had support and then say that they want the support, maybe develop habits or situations where have been with clients where they didn't really know what to do, but then when we question their approaches, because particularly if you haven't had any support or shadowing or mentoring, that's kind of that one-on-one, then bad habits 100%. And I had a number of them this week where I was like, but why? And why did you do that? What's the purpose of that? How long are you spending with a client? So just, yeah, and then same thing, like no acknowledgement for the fact that maybe I have a good idea and some good perspective, and then using that moving forward. So it's just that one track mind type deal, and really different caliber of dietitians we interviewed this week, which has kind of thrown me a little bit, as you can tell. Tyson's kind of like, come at me. And no, to in my defense, really good candidates, challenging candidates, which is great. Just completely unique humans, which is fantastic. However, as I said, respect for the process, and feedback is valuable, and don't argue in an interview. Don't.
I think having a discussion around what you're passionate about is fine. It's just that if the person that you're talking to has 10 years of experience seeing those clients in private practice and you're sitting there with none other than what uni told you or your university placement, you are coming at it from a very uninformed position. So you need to be humble in the fact that you probably don't know all of the aspects of it, that like if we're using Peter's example, how Peter is coming at it. And as a result, like, you can come off looking like a bit of a douche if you're arguing with that when you don't have any concept of it. And we find it a lot where dietitians and student dietitians and new grads will assume the content of or who that person is that we're talking about, or assume what they're eating, or assume that they can't get that weight off when they haven't actually experienced any of it.
And there's wild assumptions.
And that is okay
Yeah.
to a point, as long as when we provide feedback or we give you clarity around those things, that you are willing to accept it, rather than saying, oh no, that wouldn't be a real person, or no one would eat that, or just like, what? These are real things that happen. These are real people. It's just that lack of awareness. So it's just be humble, take on feedback, and you'll be 100% better for it. And I had someone that I interviewed today or this week, today, and they, at the end, I was like, she asked for feedback, and I was very honest with my feedback. But I feel like if taken the right way, she'll grow a lot from it, and will get a lot from it, and I think would be a really good dietitian, because she was a great person. It was just that clinically there were some things that she was lacking in regards to the things that we're just talking about. So as long as you can take that feedback on, you're going to just, if you flick a switch, then it's just like, all right, boom, now you're a powerhouse, and now you can actually move forward. So yeah, that's generally our weeks these. Now it's just building dietitians, building students, you building people on Instagram. So
Definitely.
And then other stuff, business stuff. So we've got like 4 different random contracts that we're waiting on back from organisations. Just had 2 phone calls today with an organisation around possible meal delivery type services, and collaborating there and helping with menu development, recipe development, things of that nature. Just trying to add value there and allow them to market their products a little bit better and have a better quality product. So it'll be an interesting contract discussion, I feel, and then it'll maybe bring a little bit more variety to the work that our dietitians have, which is pretty cool. Also, a biz ops, he had a meeting and just called me on his drive back, and that was quite successful.
Was it right?
Yeah, really successful. They just had a change in management in that organisation, and now once they've hired that, then they're keen to get on board and do it. So we'll have another collaboration with another organisation with similar values and alignments. That will be cool.
I had a radio interview.
Yes.
Today. That was kind of cool. Nailed it.
A lot of stuff was kind of cool. We said it like 3 times.
Yeah.
You nailed the interview. She immediately just messaged everyone in the company like, if you want to know about children and lunchboxes, you should definitely listen to this. So yeah, that was cool.
Could have removed a few ums from the beginning, but it was because I was a bit Bambi, and as soon as I get into a topic, I'm fine. It can just take me a little while to roll with it.
Just like Dietitian Life. Yeah, okay.
Please comment if you feel I have any unusual tics or any words that you need to remove from my vocabulary. Let me know. That was good this week. Travel to Harvey Bay as well, meet practitioners there to shadow some new grad and one of our long-term staff members. Really good, nice to catch up with them. It's not that far away, so I really should get there more often. Just trying to help her build her workload to what she wants it to be, trying to improve some of her inefficiencies, particularly around letter writing to GPs, because she has a lot of them to get through each week, and also then challenging clients in relation to their
demeanour.
Well, that as well as
or their reaction to her.
Yeah. So a little bit of that, but also just accepting that people don't always do what you want them to do, and it's not always your fault. Sure, it could be.
100% could be.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something that you've done wrong. Maybe
No.
there's another way you could have presented the information. Maybe you could have been more specific. Maybe you targeted too high and you set them a goal that was unachievable. Maybe you just set them goals and they don't actually want to talk about goals. They just want to be told what to do each week. So it's just, there's a lot of things when we're working with humans that, like we've already said, around a fake person and a real person and what real people actually do on a given day and eat on a given day. It's just
By
that.
fake people, she's talking about dietitians.
I'm not. I'm talking like fake case studies at uni and things like that. So
yeah, but it's also dietitians not knowing how normal people eat and live. And people think, how could you possibly have that? It's just like I had several people today say, oh, I haven't been in KFC for years. It's just like, your client base goes there. You need to know what exactly that menu item is. You need to know how much it costs, what size it is, what the kilojoule content is, because you won't be able to provide support to your clients.
Other conversations around maintaining motivation within dietetics and how to keep that rolling along. We all have had those moments, I'm sure, where our interest and our enjoyment of the role that is dietetics wanes, or you feel a little bit stagnant, or you feel like you're not progressing. Tyson will probably be like, yeah, well, whose fault's that? And to be honest, like, that's part of that conversation that I had. Ultimately, you define your enjoyment of a particular role, whether it's serving people at Woolies or it's counselling people towards their health goals in dietetics. You can make your day different just by having a different perspective on it. And you can also change the way in which you do things to make that more enjoyable. And potentially, if you're saying the same thing over and over again, and you feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again, you probably are. So think about how you could say it differently. And potentially with that, you might actually find that you get different results, better results, you enjoy your day a little bit more. That's what it is. I mean, I've had those moments, absolutely. I had plenty this week where I just wanted to run my head into a wall. It doesn't mean that the day is ruined or I'm not enjoying it. It just means that at that moment it was shitty. Yeah. But I can completely turn it around.
It's not like the whole job's shit as a result of
or all of a sudden I want to abandon.
One client that.
Yeah. So it's just that flicking the switch and perspective. Roll around in the shit if you need to, but move on and bloody do things differently, and it changes it.
I need to put that quote on a wall. Roll around in the shit if you need to. Peter Adams, 2K19. And on that note, that's it. End of Dietitian Life. Stay tuned for Dear Dietitian, hopefully released next week, answering your questions. If you haven't already, hit us up on that post or here or DM us and we'll answer all your questions then.
See ya.